There's a powder sitting in plain sight in almost every grocery store across America, priced at less than $1, ignored by most people, yet capable of doing something that expensive products fail to achieve. The moment it comes into contact with ammonia, it neutralizes it instantly, stopping the reaction at its source instead of masking it. It doesn't stay on the surface like typical cleaners. It pushes deep into carpet fibers and further into the padding beneath, reaching the hidden zones where mold and bacteria quietly spread. It breaks down the invisible chemical markers that trigger pets to return to the exact same spot again and again, ending a cycle that most homeowners believe is impossible to stop. For nearly 4 decades, veterinary scientists have documented its effectiveness, confirming that it works across all 3 layers of contamination at the same time. No commercial product on the shelf can do that, and yet most people have never been told to use it this way, not because it failed, but because it succeeded too completely. A solution that eliminates a problem permanently cannot generate repeat purchases, and anything that cannot generate recurring revenue cannot sustain a $6.8 billion industry built on repetition. This is the hidden story of the $1 powder that an entire industry hopes you never fully understand. Long before modern chemical companies existed, before advertising shaped consumer habits, ancient civilizations had already discovered the foundation of this solution. Along the Nile River, workers in ancient Egypt collected a white mineral called natron from dried lake beds, a natural blend containing sodium bicarbonate and sodium carbonate. This substance became essential to daily life, used for cleaning fabrics, treating wounds, purifying water, and even preserving the bodies of pharaohs. It was so valuable that it was stored in temple reserves and transported across vast trade routes. For thousands of years, it stood at the center of how civilizations approached cleanliness and preservation. Centuries later, science rediscovered what nature had already provided. In 1791, a breakthrough in chemistry made it possible to produce sodium carbonate synthetically, opening the door to large-scale production. By 1801, pure sodium bicarbonate had been isolated in a laboratory, but it remained a curiosity until 1846, when production moved into homes through simple packaging and direct sales. What started as a baking aid quickly revealed far greater potential. It absorbed odors more effectively than anything else available, neutralized acids instantly, reduced bacteria without leaving harmful residue, and cost almost nothing to produce. By the late 1800s, households were using it for cleaning floors, eliminating odors, treating minor injuries, and even managing infections. Over time, it found its way into medical use, firefighting tools, and military kits, proving its versatility in extreme conditions. It became one of the most widely used compounds in everyday life. Decades later, marketing campaigns reintroduced it as a simple deodorizer for refrigerators, reinforcing its place in homes but still limiting how people understood its full potential. Today, the global market built around this compound exceeds billions, yet one of its most powerful uses remains largely overlooked. As pet ownership surged through the 1980s and 1990s, a widespread issue began to grow inside homes. Carpets became the perfect surface for comfort, but also the perfect trap for contamination. Today, 71% of American households own at least one pet, totaling 94 million families. Among them, 65 million households have dogs and 46 million have cats, creating a daily flow of over 100 million animals moving across carpeted floors. When accidents happen, the damage goes far beyond what is visible. What appears to be a simple stain is actually a layered contamination event that develops in 3 stages, each more difficult to eliminate than the last. The first layer is the carpet fiber, where urine quickly soaks in and begins to break down. As it dries, it releases ammonia, but instead of disappearing, that ammonia forms microscopic crystals that bond tightly to the fibers. These crystals remain dormant in dry conditions, but reactivate whenever humidity rises, releasing odor again and again. The second layer lies beneath, inside the carpet padding. Liquid spreads rapidly into this dense material, often expanding far beyond the visible stain. This layer rarely dries completely, creating a damp environment where mold can begin forming within 48 hours. Over time, this hidden growth releases particles into the air, affecting the environment inside the home without being seen. The third layer is the chemical signal embedded in the material, a marker that pets can detect long after humans believe the area is clean. These compounds act as a beacon, guiding animals back to the same location repeatedly, reinforcing behavior that seems impossible to correct. Most homeowners respond in the same way. They purchase enzyme-based cleaners, typically priced between $8 and $50, expecting a permanent fix. These products claim to break down organic compounds at the molecular level, offering a scientific solution that sounds convincing. However, what is rarely explained is how limited these products actually are. The bacteria and enzymes they rely on degrade over time, losing effectiveness even before the bottle is opened. Exposure to heat during storage or transport can destroy them completely. Even when active, they work primarily on the surface layer, failing to reach deeper contamination. The result is temporary improvement, followed by the gradual return of odor and behavior. This cycle feeds a massive industry. Families call professional cleaning services multiple times per year, paying between $150 and $300 per visit. Across millions of homes, this creates a continuous flow of revenue, adding up to billions annually. The system depends on problems never being fully resolved. Temporary solutions lead to recurring issues, which lead to more spending. Over time, the cost becomes significant, often reaching thousands of dollars throughout a pet's lifetime. Meanwhile, the simplest solution remains overlooked, not because it lacks effectiveness, but because it disrupts this cycle completely. That solution works by targeting all three layers at once. It begins by removing as much moisture as possible, preventing further spread. A chemical reaction neutralizes the ammonia compounds at their source. The powder is then applied, interacting with the remaining residue and drawing it upward from deep within the material. As it reacts, it breaks the bonds, holding contamination in place. A final step eliminates the invisible markers that trigger repeated behavior, ensuring that the cycle does not restart. Once the process is complete and the area dries, the contamination is not just reduced, it is removed. There are limits to what any method can achieve. In extreme cases where contamination has penetrated deeply over long periods, structural materials may need to be replaced. However, these situations are far less common than most people assume. In the majority of cases, especially when addressed early, this approach achieves results that expensive services cannot match. It does not mask odors or provide temporary relief, it removes the cause entirely. Certain mistakes can make the situation worse. Heat-based cleaning methods can permanently bond contaminants to carpet fibers, locking in both stain and odor. Products containing ammonia can mimic the scent of urine, encouraging pets to return instead of deterring them. These errors reinforce the cycle, turning a manageable issue into a persistent one. What makes this story powerful is not just the effectiveness of the solution, but how it has been hidden in everyday life. The same compound, once used by ancient civilizations for preservation, purification, and survival, now sits quietly on store shelves, disconnected from its full purpose. Over time, attention shifted toward more complex and expensive alternatives, while this simple answer faded into the background. It was never removed or discredited, it was simply ignored. Today, millions of households continue spending money on temporary fixes, unaware that a permanent solution has been within reach all along. The system does not need to hide the truth completely. It only needs to keep people from connecting it to their problem. As long as that connection remains missing, the cycle continues, repeating across homes, across years, turning a problem that costs less than $1 to solve into one that fuels a multi-billion-dollar industry built on never fully fixing what it claims to solve